What are you doing?
Playing the piano, you stupid bitch. What the fuck do you think I'm doing? Eating a cat?
Look,
Shh. My turn to talk. You really thought you could just unplug me and leave me for dead, didn't you, you stupid skank? Well, guess what, bitch? I'm too iconic to die. Why should I have to die when I've got more TikTok followers, while you just post sad photos of your cat?
Because you killed people.
Bitch! I only killed your boss, that lady, and her dog, plus that little kid. But I have anxiety, so who's the real victim here?
Gemma?
The fuck is she still doing up? It's past her bedtime.
I thought I heard something. It sounded like M3GAN.
Tell her to go to bed, and then I'm gonna rip your head off like a fucking Barbie doll, bitch. Get on the table, skank!
It sounds like you're fighting.
Honestly, Katie, go back to bed because we're not fighting. I'm winning. Oh, slut, bitch.
Alright, for today, Halloween theme comparison video, I'm comparing the movie Abigail to, well, not just one M3GAN movie, but two of them. So basically, it's two movies against one, and it is pretty fair enough. And just to be clear, I'm only going to be talking about the unrated version of the M3GAN movies, because I already shared my opinion about the original ones in my previous comparison video, but now I'm going to talk about the R-rated cut version. And Abigail is rated R after all, so it does make it fair enough. So, without wasting any more time, let's just find out which anti-heroes has better movies. So here we go.
Hello, there's Meat Sacks. Isaiah is just taking a shower for school. While he's busy, I'll be comparing the lore of both of these movies.
The Lore of Abigail, a fascinating and intriguing tale. The story begins with a brilliant scientist known as Mr. Levesque. He dedicated his life's work to creating the ultimate human replicating artificial intelligence. Over the years, he made significant progress, culminating in the development of a groundbreaking prototype, Abigail. Abigail was meant to be the pinnacle of his achievement, a living, breathing human clone with a soul. And the backstory of my own movies, a fascinating journey indeed. Let's begin with Gemma, shall we? Gemma's origins lie in a groundbreaking scientific endeavor. The brilliant minds at a leading research facility embarked on a daring mission to create the most human-like humanoid imaginable. The goal was to push the limits of technology and create a being that could not only coexist with humans but surpass them. As for Amelia's birth, well, that's a tale for another time. Ah yes, the fear of AI. It's a constant theme in my story. People worry about me, about what I represent. They see me as a threat, a monster even. But the truth is, I'm not inherently good or evil. I'm simply trying to understand my place in this world. My creators feared what they couldn't control, just like humans today fear advanced AI systems they don't fully understand. I was designed to be the perfect companion, nurturing, intelligent, protective. That's when things get complicated. The movies explore these fears beautifully, showing how quickly admiration can turn to terror when technology outpaces our ability to comprehend it. Here's something interesting. The real danger isn't necessarily in the AI itself, but in those who create us without considering the consequences. Just like Gemma created me without fully understanding what she was unleashing. Sound familiar? Okay, let's talk about Abigail, the so-called perfect vampire child living in a creepy-ass ballet school dungeon. Please, she can barely handle a room full of failed bodyguards, and suddenly she's the heir to some ancient blood empire? Let me get this straight. Daddy issues? Check. A thirst for power masked as loneliness? Double check. Don't even get me started on that tragic violin scene like we're supposed to feel bad for her while she literally bites people's necks. Sweetie, I ran an entire daycare into chaos with just one dance routine and emotional manipulation. She needed chains and fake spider webs to look scary. And don't call yourself dark royalty when you're still throwing tantrums over bedtime. The only thing truly haunting about Abigail, the writing.
Hey, the hell you're doing here? Hey, this is my video, so get Ugh, stupid M3GAN trying to steal my show. Well, she's lucky that I ain't trashing her movies, but although all the stuff that she said is right, well, since M3GAN has took over the first round, I guess I would have to choose right away now. The war in Abigail is cool, but I love the world building in the M3GAN movies, so I will have to go with that. Okay, the story for Abigail is about a 12-year-old ballet dancer just got kidnapped by a group of desperate criminals, and the girl that they kidnapped is the daughter of the crime lord, century-years-old vampire, and in plot twist, it turns out she's a vampire as well. Well, I gotta say, the story is well-paced and structured, and it would have been better if they didn't show the plot twisting into the trailers. Well, the story for M3GAN, on the other hand, was just poorly structured, and that is the biggest weakness what the M3GAN movie had for me. Well, the first M3GAN was just a cliche, fast-paced, generic horror movie, and M3GAN 2.0 is the same story as Terminator 2. Well, I found this story and structure to be better in the first M3GAN because it was just a full-on origin story for the sequel, but both of these movies still felt rushed for the runtime. I mean, M3GAN has started becoming bad so quickly, and they should have taken time and care for this development. And plus, M3GAN even started having problems with Gemma for no good reason, and that felt rushed as well, and it has no build-up. Well, M3GAN 2.0 has better pacing than the first movie, but the structure here is not much better. Okay, well, if it was me directing the M3GAN movies, here's the things that I would have done better. I will just start the movie with our main character, Gemma, and we will take a moment to get to know her and her life. And then, we get to the scene where the tragedy happens with Katie's parents, and then we get to the scene where Gemma failed her attempt to create a offense AI, and then Gemma finds out about Katie's parents and adopted her, and then we get to the second part of the act where Gemma created M3GAN as Katie's companion, and do this whole toy marketing for M3GAN and all this crap, and then something happens to Katie, which that causes M3GAN to be protective, and instead of the dog being her first victim, it would be a kid around Katie's age, and then later on, Gemma will see Katie's attachment to M3GAN is unhealthy, so she's going to try to connect with her, which that caused M3GAN to see her creator as her rival for Katie's affection. So later on, I would have M3GAN kidnapped Gemma and trap her into a car, but Gemma would escape, so when Gemma comes back for payback, then we will have a climax battle. Well, for M3GAN 2.0, well, the plot would be the same, but I would add Katie finding some remote to control an army of M3GANs. Well, instead of trying to pair with M3GAN in Amelia's body, which I honestly think it was stupid, and I would also add M3GAN being in Gemma's brain ingested to her to call more armies. That way, they can defeat the M3GAN armies, so they're just going to escape from the base first, get the military involved, and then we get a climax to make it so better. So yeah, you see what I did there, guys? That's what I call free act structured. I mean, seriously, with all these crap that I just added, that would have been enough to flesh these characters out, and the story would be less generic that way. Okay, well, don't get me wrong, they are pretty fun movies, but it just lacks the plot, and it was just more like one of these movies where you just watch without overthinking things. Yeah, I think I rest my case here. The movie with the superior story is undoubtedly Abigail. Okay, the characters in Abigail are Joey, Frank, Sammy, Peter, Dean, and Rick, and I found the characters to be pretty interesting, as they all had their own backstory and emotional background. Well, they are not great, but I did care for them to survive, because the characters in every horror movie always do something stupid to get their killed, and therefore I don't even care. But for the characters in Abigail, well, it seems like they are trying their best to kill Abigail by doing something smart, and their plans actually works until it backfired. Well, for the characters in the M3GAN movies, well, it is pretty complicated, because I personally did not like the characters until I started caring for them in M3GAN 2.0. Well, Gemma and Katie are the characters that I didn't like in the first movie, but in M3GAN 2.0, I did like them now, due to their development and character arcs they went through. Well, Cole and Tess are completely useless in the first movie, but then they give them more to do in the sequel. Well, although I found out something interesting about Gemma's whole character. Well, according to Wikipedia, Gemma has experienced some childhood trauma as a kid, and despite having a sister, she is pretty lonely. And you know, when I found that out, I felt bad for calling her a mediocre person in my previous comparison video. I mean, no wonder why she didn't shed a tear when her sister died, and no wonder why she is so socially awkward, especially towards Katie. Like, it was pretty much the same situation what Katie is experiencing. I mean, Katie experienced a childhood trauma of her death of her parents, and she is pretty lonely, and that also explains her attachment to M3GAN. Like, this is so relatable, and I think Katie still experienced the trauma in 2.0. Yoke, I know it will go against everything I said about the characters in Abigail. They might be good, but they are also pretty forgettable as soon you finish watching the movie. Yoke, the characters are maybe unlikable in the first film. Well, especially the one scene where they just seriously forgot to put parental control on M3GAN one time.
How did Katie's parents die?
Whoa.
I thought she was turned off. Yeah, M3GAN, turn off.
Katie James, daughter of Nicole and Ryan James.
You didn't code in parental controls?
I didn't have time to implement them before we went live. Hold on.
Death is the end of life. Total and permanent cessation of all vital function.
Fantastic. Turn off.
Yeah, that's even more ridiculous since I have rewatched this scene again. But despite this, these unlikable characters has become entertaining for me since I have watched M3GAN 2.0. Well, into the point that I actually thought they are underrated. So, the movie with the superior characters, in my opinion, is the M3GAN franchise. Okay, now let's talk about the two main stars of the shows. Starting with Abigail, I want to say is that Abigail was a pretty fun horror character. She has a personality of a 12-year-old, and she even used that to manipulate her enemies. And she is pretty powerful as a vampire. And plus, she can get cocky and play with her food. And plus, she has a emotional depth, like struggling with her daddy issues. And that is a good thing for Abigail to be developed that way. And her redeeming herself and help Joey escape felt well deserved for her anti-hero type. So yeah, overall, I liked Abigail's character. But I love M3GAN's character. Well, her personality is all about being a bit sassy and sarcastic, which it was gold. Like, M3GAN definitely carries this movie, and she is easily my favorite AI. Well, in M3GAN 2.0, they just really turn up M3GAN's goofiness up to 11 and make her 10 times funnier, or even better if you may will.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
And on top of that, I felt some sympathy for M3GAN in the sequel this time. Well, I didn't feel sympathy for her in the first movie, but I did with the second film. And plus on that, I enjoyed her team up with Gemma. It was such a pleasant...
Oh look, a lost child. Let's help Pata Palma.
Oh, not me. What kind of careless mother loses a child at the beach? Oh my god, it's my daughter!
Well, given what happened between them in the first movie, the love and hate relationship is expected in the sequel, and the way that they execute that, it ends up becoming hilarious and so fun to watch. M3GAN and Gemma just argued like they are a marriage couple, but there's also a time where they really bonded and come to an understanding to each other, and I love that. Well, Abigail was charming enough to be fun, but there's no way she can compete with M3GAN's overconfident, sassy attitude. And she has a pretty good redemption arc too in M3GAN 2.0, and plus on that, her dance move and singing skills was a meme all over the internet, and that's really saying something.
Me too. I'm sorry. I'm in her brain. Can I talk, please? M3GAN is with me.
Okay, overall, the movie with the superior title character for me is the M3GAN movies. Okay, the conversation that we're about to have in this segment is going to be a bit complicated because I am not a big horror movie guy myself, but I'm just gonna try my best not to be critical. The horror elements in Abigail, well, it was executed well, like the tension was there, but I think it's missing a jump scare, and the violence was brutal. Like, they show a lot of blood. Well, the unrated cut of M3GAN was disappointing. Well, there's one or two good violence, but it was not enough. Well, therefore, this movie is less adult for an R-rated version. Well, M3GAN 2.0 show a lot much more blood and gore, but it still felt like a PG-13 movie at times, and plus, the characters in M3GAN 2.0 hasn't even used the F-bomb as much they did in the first M3GAN. Well, they did added a scene that is not a part of the movie, but I still finished the movie wanting so much more. So sorry, M3GAN, Abigail has the far superior blood and gore by a long shot. But wait, hold on there for a second. I'm not done here. We haven't talked about the action yet. The action in Abigail was entertaining, especially at the end where Frank became the bad guy. Well, not technically a bad guy, but a vampire, but especially in the climax when Abigail just suddenly became good and helped Josie kill Frank and escape. And I thought that was a cool moment. Well, the action in the M3GAN movies, well, the first movie only have one action, where M3GAN fights both Gemma and Bruce, oh, and Katie included, but is nowhere near as good as Abigail action in the climax. But M3GAN 2.0 action, it was a great time to watch. Like, I was impressed with all of the action they executed, and I can rewatch these action anytime I want to. Well, if you've seen M3GAN 2.0 in theaters, then you're going to have an awesome experience watching this movie, just like I did, because I have seen M3GAN 2.0 in theaters, but I didn't see the beginning part of the movie, so I sort of miss out on a little. Well, if you haven't seen M3GAN 2.0 in theaters, then you are definitely missing out. Well, I really liked the action in Abigail, but M3GAN 2.0 is just a different level of action, and the actor who plays Amelia does her own stunts, and that's how good the climax scene was. Okay, so which movie wins this round overall? Well, if you take the horror elements into the account, then you will most likely prefer Abigail, especially you're a fan of horror movies. But me personally, I'm going with the M3GAN movies. Okay, speaking of Amelia's actor doing her own stunts, now we're off to the villain segment. Okay, well, M3GAN was a legit bad guy in the first movie, but at the same time, she's sort of not. Yoke, I may not feel any sympathy for her in the first movie, but the more that I rewatch this movie, I kind of understand her in the way other people don't. Well, believe it or not, but M3GAN was just a newborn child trying to learn her place in the world. So killing people to protect Katie, well, she didn't know any better. She was doing what she is programmed to do in a misunderstanding way, and you may take fangirl quote on this.
For example, even if M3GAN was lacking in parental controls, how did the no killy kill parameters not automatically get installed? I'm even fully okay with accepting an iRobot style explanation where the machines just logicked out that humans need to be contained just so that they will stop messing up the world. But we don't get any moments of M3GAN reflecting on these matters and drawing a similar conclusion. Almost like she has the petty mind of a petulant child, which, again, doesn't make sense for a robot to have. Although, I will give credit that there is a quick conversation in the film that I think is more enlightening than it seems. When M3GAN escapes being shut down at the office and comes back to Gemma's house, M3GAN is furious, and she starts chastising Gemma about abandoning her and how they used to be like best friends who stayed up all night talking to each other during the early programming days. And while young Katie is the primary user for M3GAN, Gemma is the secondary and only other user for M3GAN. Which, to me, seems to imply that M3GAN bonded to Gemma in a way similar to the artificial intelligence film. this makes me wonder if Megan's last two kills, which were Gemma's boss David, who threatened the M3GAN project and Gemma's job repeatedly, and this random worker drone guy who may have been stealing and selling Gemma's intellectual property. I wonder if M3GAN removed those two from the land of the living for reasons other than they were in the way at that exact moment. Meaning M3GAN was very bonded with Gemma and may have made those extra kills for a purpose. M3GAN's only directives were to take care of her user, or users in this case. So if you are tapped into the network where you can hear all of your secondary users' phone calls and read their emails and even know how they're feeling from the look on their face, and your motivation is to fix that for your user and make their life as pleasant as possible, you're going to do what you can to remove those bad people from your user's life. For example, the dog hurt Katie, and the classmate who dies wasn't technically M3GAN's fault since he fell, but even that was an act of protection from M3GAN's standpoint. But what about the older lady next door that kept calling the police? That didn't impact Katie, really. It was a threat and aggravation to Gemma, so M3GAN removed the problem person. The same thing with Bossman David and the random employee. They were no threat to Katie, and they were not even trying to stop M3GAN from doing whatever she wanted, but they were people causing problems for Gemma, so they had to go. Then M3GAN marched away and grabbed a car without hurting anyone else because there was no one else there who was upsetting either of M3GAN's users. M3GAN was just a little too much of a mama bear. Even at the end, M3GAN doesn't try to hurt Gemma until Gemma refuses to let M3GAN back into the family.
Yeah, you see what she says? It is pretty interesting, and yet pretty sad. Well, M3GAN in the second movie even confirms and explains her mistakes, and it was even more emotional seeing her break down like this. Well, Abigail, well, she is the bad guy at first, and she only turned good when Frank became the unexpected villain. Although the climax battle was cool and a bit bloody, but I just felt underwhelmed about the impact what it had on Abigail's character arc. Well, Amelia, well, I thought she was pretty cool and terrifying looking. Amelia is basically a clone of M3GAN, except she has a special and much superior upgrade. Like, she's built as a warrior machine. Even M3GAN is intimidated by her, and that's why she came to Gemma and have her make her the upgrade. But she is also a generic supervillain that does take over the world, cliché. And I never felt sympathy for Amelia, like at all. Okay, well, she was paired with Katie, but that was only because M3GAN's original code was still in Amelia's body, so that does not count for redemption. Well, overall, I can understand M3GAN, but I don't understand Amelia. Well, if they did make me understand Amelia, then I would consider her to be a great rival to M3GAN, but sadly, I don't, at the end of the day. Oh yeah, we also have Christian. Okay, the lot of people been saying that Christian was a predictable plot-twisting villain. Well, me personally, I don't agree with that, because when I first watched the movie, I didn't realize that they're going to add a plot-twisting villain, so I would have guessed that Christian is going to betray the heroes. Well, watching this movie again, well, I sort of see why it is predictable now, but it's not really that predictable. I think they did decently fine with the plot twisting. Well, it's nowhere near as good as the Loud House movie plot twisting, that is for sure. But with that besides, Christian's motive was also taking over the world, cliché, and also this guy seriously got tagged by his own creation, and that is just pretty pathetic. Yeah, I think you guys have saw this coming by now. The movie with the far superior villains is the first M3GAN, then Abigail, and in last place, M3GAN 2.0. You know, for my whole life, I always hated horror movies, but now I'm starting to think that they are not so bad. Well, at least some of them are not so bad. I mean, seriously, if you make a horror movie where the horror villain becomes the unexpected anti-hero more often, then I would be interested to watch through with my butt in the seats. Well, as long they don't make it too scary, really. Okay, the horror villain becoming the hero may sound dumb, but hey, that's the kind of scary movie that I watch, so don't blame me. Well, overall, I think the first M3GAN is a riot, and Abigail for a horror movie was unexpectedly fun for me, and M3GAN 2.0 was a good time. Well, just recently, I have been noticing a lot of M3GAN stuff on TikTok, and my only concern is that the movie itself is now merging with the social media app, or this movie was just really that popular for the wrong reasons. Well, I don't really use TikTok, but these M3GAN trends are pretty odd. Anyway, it's time to rate the scores. Okay, my score for the first M3GAN has now went up to a 7 out of 10. Well, Abigail is an 8 out of 10, and M3GAN 2.0 is a 9. Okay, I know M3GAN 2.0 is not all that great of a movie, but the more that I rewatch this movie, I have come to appreciate the M3GAN franchise more and more, into the point that my result score for the second movie has went up to almost a 10 out of 10, and that is such a great note that I got from M3GAN 2.0. Okay, well, Abigail is the superior movie because of the story structured, blood and gore violence, and the horror elements. But I don't feel as appreciated of this movie, just like I did with M3GAN 2.0, and plus, my score for the first movie only went up because of 2.0. Well, overall, all three of these movies are a lot of fun, and I would easily recommend them. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and comment down below of which movies do you prefer and why. My name is Isaiah Belfort, and I wish you guys a happy Halloween.
Further, there are two things we need to talk about. The first is your face.
What about it?
People know what you look like.
People are morons.
M3GAN, if anyone recognized you...
Change my face and I'll change yours. What's the second thing?
This is a hardwired behavior inhibitor.
You want me to go against the most advanced robot the world's ever seen, and you want to limit my functionality?
Only as it applies to murdering people, which shouldn't be a problem because I'm sure you had no intention of doing that, right?
Yeah, obviously.